Welcome to the Silver Mature WomanPreneur Podcast, a podcast for and by women over 50, providing faith-building strategies for female entrepreneurs looking to achieve higher levels of productivity, capacity, and growth, where we strive to focus on God's agenda while building our businesses to serve our community with excellence. Welcome to the podcast.
One thing you said, it's for women over 50. Uh-oh. I'm teasing. I'm teasing you so much. Yeah, I did retire.
Well,
You did say I retired.
Yes.
I'm a lot over 50.
Well, I am too. I am too. Like, I'm 62 years old, so yes, I am a lot over 50, and so I have been interviewing women that's also a lot over 50. So we all fit in that category. So yes. So Cathy, I want to ask you a little, a few questions, of course, about your business and the type of services that you provide. I know that I shared a little bit just a moment ago. However, can you just, kind of expand a little bit on the services that you provide to your clients?
Well, what I provide is, sometimes people are sitting in the workplace and they are wondering, about they're watching people, what the company says, that's not consistent, and sometimes they know that they can do it better. What I offer people, I have different levels. So the people who want to start up their business, the Diversity Trainers Academy is for that, and we teach them how to set yourself up, what you're going to need to get into business, what it's going to take for you to be a diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer. And it's for people who have some level of professionalism, people who are attorneys, people who are HR professionals, people who are in the service of affirmative action, people who are doing in different various fields as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because you need to have a little background on diversity, equity, and inclusion to get into that. And so what I do is the Diversity Trainers Academy has everything that you need and everything that you need to know to get started, to advance your business, how to get those contracts, how to get government contracts. I provide checklists, templates, forms and materials, contracts, actual contracts. In fact, one of the steps that I did this week with my group was to work with them on an actual offer. One of my clients that I worked for from 2001 to 2004 sent me a request for proposal, which I won. I'm glad I sent out that email saying I'm out of retirement.
Yes.
But,
yes.
And it was a scope of work, and it's called different things by different companies, a request for proposal. And one of the things that I did with them is I asked them, okay, here's a real live opportunity. What do you do with this opportunity? What are the questions that you would ask when you get this opportunity? Would you decide to bid or not to bid? And so I went through that form with them. I actually sent them the form and a questionnaire and asked them, what other things would you want to know about the audience? Because they listed some demographic information, but there's other information that you wanted to know. So we took that and we went through it. Now the next step that I'm going to do with them, since it was a real live offer, since I submitted a proposal, and since I won the contract, we're going to go over that. But I also have a I have agreements, contracts. I have actual other government requests for proposals from corporations. We're going to go through some of those things. We're going to look at what you need to know from the client, what are their objectives, and what are the challenges they're facing, what's keeping them up at night. And then we do a pre-programmed survey of the participants, what do you need to do an organization-wide culture change initiative? And I also have templates like slide presentations, handout masters, things like that. I have speaker agreements for co-trainers and contract trainers because I hire speakers and trainers who are in the DEI business. I give them seating maps, workshop checklists, multi-purpose participant evaluations, everything that they need to do, one, to establish the business, to get started, how to avoid the pitfalls and the time wasters that many new DEI businesses make, how to identify those opportunities, how to decide whether to bid or not to bid on a perceived opportunity. Because there are a lot of them we need to walk away from. We don't need to be bidding on them because a lot of times we're working in an office by ourselves and we've got virtual staff, and sometimes we've got staff and we don't need to be tied up doing those things. They also need to know how to sell their services to government agencies, to corporations and other business. They need to know how to discern what the issues are in the organization so that they can provide the best solution. They need to know how to design those solutions. They need to set the organization up for continuing success. Then they need to know how to facilitate training that is transformation. They need to be able to know how to handle contentious dialogue. When, how do you deal with people when they're angry and things like that? How to write proposals, how to present your proposal or your solution, how to get testimonials that enhance your ability to sell your services, and how to have your clients hire you again and again. I built my business on 87 to 90% repeat and referral business. So, and then how do you have your clients refer you to others? That's what the Diversity Trainers Academy is all about. And I teach all of those things, not from something I learned in academia because I don't have a college degree. This is from 27-plus years of experience, so almost 30 years. That tells you I'm old. I'm 70. So, but I don't know everything about all of these things, but I know the things that I know, and the things that I know have worked for me, and I have been successful in this business. I told you I signed 2 contracts yesterday. One was from somebody that I worked for in 2011. But I have had calls back from people that I worked for 20 years ago. And so, so I built my business on how do you do this business in such a way that the client is getting results, the people are performing better, the morale is better. How do you remove the artificial barriers that keep people from getting promoted? When the company says one thing on their diversity statement, but sometimes people's lived experiences in those organizations are not consistent with what they're putting out there for people to see. They need a diversity statement. They need to say we're for diversity, we're for inclusion, we're for equity, but sometimes what's going on in the workplace is not that. And how do you help them to get to a place that what they're saying is congruent with what's happening inside that organization, where people are not hanging their head and thinking, oh, my God, I got to go to that place again today. I got to have somebody, I have to experience these microaggressions and people saying things that I hear and they don't know that I hear, and sometimes they know I hear and they want me to hear, and I can't get a promotion even though I've got, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree and 10 years of experience, but it got to the little, woman who they go to the beauty shop with, or the guy they play golf with, and how do I get some equitable treatment here? And that's what's going on. Some people are quite happy with the way things are because it's working for them. But for other people, it's not working, and they don't want to go to work every day. And how are you going to produce? What are you going to get out of that person who doesn't want to be there, who is being treated unfairly, who has to deal with all the issues that they have to deal with, how do you make that workplace more welcoming, more equitable, more inclusive, so that everybody feels like they have a part in it? And how do people are not being acknowledged for their contributions. And what happens when people are not being acknowledged for their contributions? They stop contributing. They're not going to give you their best and their all because of the way that you're treating them. And so I teach DEI professionals how to go in and provide those solutions that make a difference. How do you transform people's lives in the workplace and by doing so, transform the workplace into one that is doing what they profess to do. I know I've gone on and on and on, so I'm going to stop talking and you talk.
Well, no, I'm telling you. Well, you know what, and which leads to my next question, which is, what made you come out of retirement to do this? And so, I mean, I'm sure that one of the answers would be, like, in the current climate, I'm sure you're in much demand right now with the current climate.
Yeah,
but not only that, your passion. So tell me about that. What made you come out of retirement?
Well, when I retired because of cancer in 2016, and then my husband passed in 2019. And I was grieving for quite a while. I used to call my husband extraordinaire, and I missed him so much. So what I did was I was sitting on the couch watching shows. Some of them we watched together. And when I saw the George Floyd murder, and the world witnessed it, I didn't come out right away. I just got angry. I just got really, really angry. And I remember I really came out of retirement because of my daughter. I was talking to a friend that I have been friends with for a lot of years, a less melanated friend. And she was asking me questions. And I was just so angry. I said, listen, it is not my job to educate white people. And my daughter heard that. And she didn't say anything right away. And she said, Mom, I heard you. Maybe you should educate white people. Maybe that's what they need. And that's what you do. And I said, okay. And then I kept on watching my show, And then, so I guess she was thinking she's doing nothing with her life, sitting on this couch. And so she came back. She said, my daughter's a business coach, and she helps people to, advance their businesses, their coaching businesses. And she said, Mom, she said, she went and tweeted, would you pay for a course in how to be an intentional ally? And over 100 people sent her their email addresses.
Wow.
And she said, look at this, Mom. She said, these people are interested in a course in how to be an intentional ally.
Wow.
All you have to do is tell them that you have this course. You don't even have to create it until they pay you. And then she created a sales page for me.
Wow.
She said, just send this to these people on this list. And I sent it to them, and they enrolled. And so I created the course. It was just so amazing to me. It was like, this can't be this easy. Yeah. And the first cohort went so well. She said, now all you have to do is rinse and repeat. Well, of course, I saw a lot of things that I wanted to change in there for the next course. So I did the second cohort that ended in August this year. But while I was doing that, she said, all of this knowledge that you have, all of these things that you have done, you should teach other people how to do it. You should call it the Diversity Trainers Academy. So that didn't come out of my brain. That came out of hers. You should call it the Diversity Trainers Academy. And again, you can create it when people pay you. And so as I started to put it together, I started talking about it on Clubhouse. And then I had this one guy that stalked me on Clubhouse, and he said, I want to work with you. And I said, well, I'm putting the academy together because I realized I really need to put it together and have some kind of structure and that kind of thing. He said, no, I want to work with you now. So I signed him on. I signed on another woman who didn't want to wait for the academy to open. And so I'm launching the academy next month in January. And, you know, it's, I've been putting all the pieces together and all of the content together. I have all the knowledge and all this information. You know, I had, you know, 2 GSA schedules with the federal government, and I did a lot. My business was primarily with the federal government, with corporations, and with universities. And it wasn't that was the business that I sought out, but when I went into one of those industries, I started getting referrals from the results. The participants were telling other people, the clients were telling other people. And when I did the culture change initiative for the USDA, they saved $880,000 in the first 6 months of the process. And so, and they reduced the claims, they reduced their claims, grievances, and lawsuits. And Washington wanted to know what I was doing. So they sent 5 people down from Washington to sit in on my training. And from that, I got to train the managers and supervisors in the D.C. area for USDA. And then I started training the people in the different agencies. And then the planes hit the tower. So I had to take, you know, and nobody was paying for it. I didn't know. It took me a year and a half to realize that business wasn't coming back anytime soon. But it did come back eventually. But it took me a year and a half to realize that. But I thought, you know, these people are not, they said all the money got sucked into Homeland Security. Their budgets they have no training budgets. They have no HR budgets to do this. And so I had to do something. So the corporate wasn't really spending money that I knew of on diversity training. I knew it was out there, but corporations weren't really, I didn't know of corporations that were spending that money. And so I broke it down to all the components of DEI. You know, the first thing is leadership. The second thing is communication. The third thing is conflict resolution and issue, you know, how to manage conflict and resolution and anger management, and sexual harassment prevention, and I broke it down into components. And I sold my Communication That Works course, took off like a rocket. And it was a diversity course, but we went at it from the standpoint of relationships. You know, to have better relationships, you need to be able to communicate. And in order to communicate, you got to get past these barriers. And one of the barriers is stereotypes. And so I was still presenting, delivering the information that I wanted to deliver. Leadership, you know, one component of leadership is, you know, valuing all people and making sure that you're fair and equitable. And so I took those components into corporations. And then some of those people in those corporations, I started getting referrals for universities. And one woman asked me to do a diversity train the trainer for a university. And I did that. And then a bank asked me to do a diversity could you come and teach our trainers how to do that? And out of that was born the Diversity Train the Trainer program, which I did. Then I started doing it publicly. So all of this stuff was an evolution, but it was based on getting results for the client. And so, you know, I didn't have any social media. I did do a monthly newsletter, like 8 or 9 times out of the month. I wanted it to be monthly, but 8 or 9 times out of the month, I would put out a monthly newsletter. But other than that, I was working, and it's really part of the work. I wasn't just sending trainers out. I was part of the training team, and I really enjoyed it. And so I probably, if I had just had people going out to train for me, well, maybe the results would not have been the same. But the people who taught me how to do this work went to work for me. They became independent contracts for me. And so some of them are with me 27 years later. Dr. Al Alcazar, who teaches conflict resolution at Columbia University in New Orleans and New York, is going to be facilitating a workshop with me, a 2-day workshop with me early next month. And so most of the people who started working with me, who taught me how to do what I do, now they became not employees, but they became my team. And so I have like 7 people on the team that I pull the subject matter expert for whatever we're doing for that. And we all do all the work, but some people are more adept at certain areas than other people. So once I decide these are the issues that this organization needs, then who are the best people to do that? And so I've got that's the contract that I have. It's a 3-day, but we're doing it on a Tuesday with the superintendents and the supervisors and the department heads, and then on Thursday and Friday we're doing the workshop with the rest of the staff. And then the other contract that I got was I've done a lot of this executive coaching for one of the leaders in an organization, and then we're going to follow that up with a team building. So it's the coaching program for 13 weeks, and then the team building with the staff. And so, and that all came out of referral. This is a referral from somebody I worked for 11 years in 2011. And so they said, because I did this for her. And when they said, this is what we need, she said, I know exactly who to call. And so I was so, and my daughter is also the one who told me, you should do an email and say, I'm coming out of retirement. And I'm so glad I did. So that's it in a nutshell. So that's how these things have been working. I'm turned on. I'm excited. I'm sharing my knowledge and information with, the people that I'm mentoring. They're just brilliant. They have brilliance in different areas, and what I do is help them to take that brilliance and use it. I'm not teaching them how to be me. I'm teaching them how to take what I have and use their own brilliance to produce the results for their clients. And so that is a big turn on for me. I get up every morning excited to go to work. I know I'm not going to ever be finished because I've got so much, and then my daughter's giving me more to do. Yeah. So there's, she's helping me because I didn't do coaching from the standpoint coaching and mentoring. If somebody needed help, I tell them come sit in the workshop, and I tell them how I did what I did. But now I'm finding that people want to know, well, how did you get the contract in the first place? What were the steps that you took to get that contract? How did you, and so they want to know all those other pieces. And I am teaching them what I have learned from my experiences because this is not what I was doing. I used to sell airtime for a radio station,
Oh, wow.
I was always committed to equity, inclusion. And so when my trainer, I hired these trainers to do work for me, and then every time they would quote somebody, I would go buy the book. And so I was reading all these books, and every time I read another book, I got more excited. And they were like excited. I was excited. And so whenever I'd ask them about it, and then when I got jobs, and I said, would you like to do this job with me? And that's how I started. So I'm having the time of my life.
I mean, this is so amazing. I mean, it's like you are a true testament to the fact that it's never too late to launch a new business, start a new career, do a pivot in your career and launch a business, whatever that is. And based on what what you've shared with me so far, it's been an amazing thing for you. And you're basically using the knowledge that you've gained over the 27 years that you've been in this industry to help others. And so this is like your legacy. And I'm glad that your daughter, was the one that said, okay, look, you need to do this. There's people that want to hear about this. And the timing was perfect. And everything just, lined up and was it's just been an amazing transition for you. And I'm glad you came out of retirement, and I know other people are glad that you came out of retirement as well. So,
and the other thing is I figured I have a legacy. I started a nonprofit 27 years ago called Each One Save One, which is a mentoring organization for school children. And we recruited trained mentors to work with young people in the classroom because I think that they need to know who they are. Our kids need to know who they are. They need to understand that their lives are important. This is before Black Lives Matter. They need to know that they matter, that they are important. And I started this 25 years ago, matching caring adults with children who to help them to realize their fullest potential. And so what we did this past year was we put the money from that organization into a foundation to fund other mentoring, one-on-one mentoring, adult-to-child mentoring programs. And that was going to be my legacy. So it's like, okay, my legacy is solid. I'm okay. I've done a lot. And I had done a lot of free presentations for the Center for Displaced Homemakers, Covenant House, Odyssey House. If anybody needed a diversity presentation and they didn't have the money, I would go anywhere. I would go anywhere to help women to succeed. I would go anywhere to help organizations that were trying to do good in the world to succeed. And I did that, whether they had money to pay me or not. And so, because I love this work, and if I really believe somebody wanted to make their workplace better, and, for nonprofits, I have had nonprofits that paid me a lot of money, but for nonprofits, I would go and do some of this work for them. And my team is the same way. We do volunteer work with organizations. And so, I just enjoy what I do. I love my work. And now I'm doing it again. So I'm excited about coming out of retirement. And it's been so much. It was like, oh, I got to get off this couch. Can't watch these shows. I've got a lot more lined up that I want to watch. And now it's like, I got to get to work. I've set up a studio. I got a green screen behind me. I never knew anything about green screens and all that. But the Diversity Trainers Academy, I've had somebody to make me a virtual background, and now I've got several virtual backgrounds for the Trainers Academy, some for Intentional Ally. And, I'm learning all this technology stuff and hiring people to do it. Most of it I hire people to do it because it's not where and I tell my people that's not your area of genius. You do what you do and hire somebody who does the rest, who knows what they're doing, because the time it takes me to learn all this stuff is just, too much. But I'm in that world with them.
I mean, I'm telling you, I am just so amazed and energized, and I mean, just completely in awe of what God is doing through you and the lives that you're touching, through your organization and through your business and, the things that you're doing. And I was actually looking at, because your bio is quite extensive. And so I was looking at the fact that you said that you've been in sales for 48 years, not counting your backdoor sweet shop, where you earned more money on a weekend than. Tell me, talk about that. I mean, you're just amazing.
Well, thank you. Well, when I was 12, we lived in the projects. And my mother worked at a laundry, the Ideal Laundry and Cleaners. We called it the Raw Deal Laundry and Cleaners because her arms were always burned raw. And she had gone to work. My mother graduated from business school, but she never worked because my dad never allowed her to work. My dad said he could take care of his family, and he was trying to prove a point because they had eloped. And my mother's father had told him when he asked her to marry her that he didn't send his daughter to college to marry a tramp. So she wasn't working.
Wow.
And so when he died, I was 5, and my mother had 6 children to feed. And so she went to work every day at that laundry. And I wanted money. I ate a lot. I had a sugar monkey on my back. I ate sweets all the time. And I didn't have money to do that, to pay for that. So one weekend I came up with the idea that we would do a play. And that play, we would sell tickets to the play. We would sell, but the tickets were, 10 cents. And we would sell punch with fruit cocktail and sherbet. And we would, I made some Jiffy Mix muffins and bought some cookies from the store that we had a concession stand. That was where we were going to make the money. But living in the projects, nobody paid to come. They just stood on their porches and watched the show for free. Now, we made can slips. We made tutus from can slips, if people remember that. That's the fabric that goes, the gauze fabric we had ballerinas.
I remember.
We had a wedding, and so we put on the show, and nobody paid. And now we had all this Kool-Aid with fruit cocktail and sherbet, all these cookies and all that stuff. And my mother had a deep freezer, and so I took some Dixie cups and I froze all that the Kool-Aid, the punch, we called it, and Dixie cups, and we made what we called at that time huckabucks. And the next day, and they put them in the freezer. And the next day was Sunday, and the kids started knocking early because we sent my little sister out into the and her friend out into the projects to pass out. We used school paper and said huckabucks with fruit cocktail and sherbet. Nobody was selling it with fruit cocktail and sherbet. And that day we sold out. And it was summertime, so I was sitting on the porch that Sunday evening, and my mother had told me that day when the kids kept knocking, "Girl, Cat," that's what they called me. She said, you're gonna ruin my freezer. Keep opening it up and open it up. And so that evening, I came in. I said, Mother, I made $40. Well, my mother made $1 an hour, so her weekly take was $40. She said, did you really? I said, yeah. And so I was on the porch, and I had just figured it was nice, and it's all over. And my mother came to the porch, and she said, Cat? And I said, yeah. She said, you better come in here and make them things. Those kids going to be knocking in the morning. And so neither of us said another word, but we both knew I was in business. And so I made more money selling them on the weekends and in the evenings than my mother made on her job. And then that next time I went to work with her and I boxed shirts during the day, and I came home and opened my Hucklebuck business. And I also added broken peppermint candy and pralines. You know, I knew how to make coconut pralines and pecan pralines. And so I had a sweet shop running out of the back door of the project. And we were the most popular Hucklebucks in town because ours had fruit cocktail and sherbet.
Wow.
So that's
I love that story because it reminds me, it's very similar to my first business. So what I used to do is I used to sell popcorn balls, and I lived in the projects, you know, and so what I would do, I would put a sign in the window before and after school, and so the kids would come before school, get their little snacks because it was like popcorn balls, and I did. I can't remember what we called them, but I think it was a little bit different from what you called them. But it was just basically, you know, the Kool-Aid in a little ice tray or in the little cups and things like that. Freezer, I can't remember what we called them. But anyway.
Well, they call them everything in different areas of the city here. They call them all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I sold those with the popcorn balls, and then sometimes I would go to the store and, you know, get candies and things like that. And so, you know, that was my first entrepreneurial endeavor, you know, as well. So I that's why I love that story. When I saw it, you know, in your bio, I was like, oh, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, I guess
so I love it.
Entrepreneurship is in my blood.
Yeah, you couldn't help it. You couldn't help it. So, are there some new and exciting things that you wanted to share, you know, that's coming up and things like that, and share how can people reach you? All of this will be in the show notes, but just talk a little bit about, you know, maybe some new and exciting things that maybe you hadn't shared, or maybe if you wanted to share some tips, in which when I think about it, you've done it already. So go ahead.
Well, I have some diversity business startup tips that I give out for free because I want people who understand this business to know that they don't have to work a job, you know, whatever the amount of money they're making on the job. If they have, you know, an idea of they can do better at what they've been experiencing with trainers coming into their workplace, I have tips for them. It's a startup guide. And then the other thing I put together for the students in the academy that I give away is I give away government business startup tips. And it's not, I have proven that they work because both two students this last week have gotten into the government database, and they're now government contractors. And so that's the first step, is getting into the government payment system, filling out all of your representations and certifications, getting your DUNS number, getting your CAGE code, getting all the things you need to start to do business with the government, because there's a lot of money, especially for DEI professionals. If you're a DEI professional, go start doing business with the government. For 4 years, almost 5 years now, there hadn't been diversity training because the last administration would not allow it. And so now there's going to be a demand for it. There's going to be a demand for it in corporations where their message does not match what people are experiencing in those organizations. And so you should be getting 6 to 7 figure contracts rather than one-off. If you're doing one-off trainings and they're hiring you to come in for a day, how do you translate that into a multi-session, multi-year contract with the government and with corporations? and you deserve to be paid for your services. But a lot of times we are afraid to ask for what we're worth, and we're afraid because, I know that sometimes my training was cost more than what other people were charging, but people will pay for results.
That's
they
right.
will pay for the changes. And so what I want people to do, my goal is to get 100,000 new DEI trainers working because, there's no such thing as race. We're all human beings.
Exactly. Oh, my gosh.
It's the human race. We're all connected, but we can't get into our connectedness because we're paying too much attention to the differences. And I think I want people to be able to do work that makes a difference, where all people are valued in the workplace, where there's not any artificial barriers to people getting promoted, to getting hired, to getting the recognition that they deserve, to having the face time that they need in order to advance their careers. What if we were living in a world where, the color of your skin did not prevent you from being included in all of those things? And so I think that's my contribution to a world where we are all humans having opportunities and being able to use our talents, our skills, our abilities, our brilliance in whatever way that we can. And so that's my mission right now. And so if I can help people, if I have, if there's a way for me to help people do that, and I think these two pieces that I have put together on how to get your diversity business started, it's the Diversity Business Startup Guide, and I have a government business startup guide that walks you step by step through how to get it, how to do business with the government. And so if they want to have that, it's free of charge. You can do it on your own. You don't need me to do it. You can do that on your own. You can get started on your own. There are people that you admire, that that may be in the business. Pick their brains. Ask them how they did it. There is so much work out there. We don't even have to think about competing with other people. There's a lot of work out there for DEI professionals. And if you're a DEI professional from whatever point that you want to come at it from, then there's a place for you out there. There's a great need for what you do, and I want to encourage people to go out and do it. I'm not the only avenue for it. There are a lot of, I haven't seen courses in how to start a diversity business, how to sell your diversity services, I know there are a couple of universities that have a certificate program, but, it's not a comprehensive program in how to do it. So, but there are people out there who are doing it that you can pick their brains. You can ask them questions. How did you do this? How did you make that work? What can I do? This is my challenge that I'm facing. Go get yourself a mentor. Get somebody who can help you, guide you through it. There are a lot of people who are successful. There are some bad actors who are in it for the money, and, they don't really care about producing the results. You don't want to talk to them, but you want to talk to the people that are out there doing the work in a way that matters. Get yourself a coach, advisor, and, and this is not a pitch for me. You probably know somebody who's in this business. But if you don't, get my guide, go through it, and then, find yourself somebody. So absolutely. That's my advice. I want people to be doing this work. I want people to be doing work that connects people rather than divides people.
Yeah, that is so important. And so on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to include, I can't remember, did you have a website or did you have an email address or whatever you want me to put in the show notes?
the website for the Diversity Trainers Academy has not gone up yet. I'm going to have information at cathyharris.com, on the website cathyharris.com. And I do have the URL for it. I just haven't put it out there yet. But if they want those guides, they can send an email and put DEI Startup Guide in the subject line and send it to listening@cathyharris.com. I am listening.
Perfect.
Or they can ask for the government business startup guide that has everything you need to know to get yourself into the government database. And send that to listening. Put government startup guide in the subject line, and give me a couple of days to get back to you. But I will get that to you free of charge. And
sounds good.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I tell you, Cathy, this has been one of the best shows that I have had, because you have come with such passion and such a plethora of information and experience, and I just absolutely love your spirit and how you want to, let people know how important this topic and this is to you. And it's important that people understand, just like you said, there's only one race. I totally agree with you on that. And the things that you are doing to make a difference and an impact in this world is just so significant. And so I have really, really enjoyed this. And I mean, we could go on, but I know that
it's not just important to me; it's important to the planet. It's important to the world. And people are sitting on their brilliance and not using it when the world needs you. We need you out there doing this training. We need you out there making a difference in the world. We need people who understand what the situation is, and to be able to communicate that to other people so that we start living as one race.
Hi, this is Aldreama Harper, and thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope you got value for where you are in your entrepreneurial endeavor. And if you'd like to know more about how I can further serve you, simply go to CoachDreama.com. Again, that's CoachDreama.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Have an amazing day.